Hello, this is candidate Eleanor Humphreys testing digital top trumps for her computer science NEA. In this video there will be a series of clips showing the testing process and the different objectives each test links to. The test will be following a test plan which will be written in my write-up in the main NEA document. So a very warm welcome to the first test. This is to test the menu and that it is output in a user-friendly way. The test is to then see the different data types, so boundary, normal and erroneous, being input, and how well the program can deal with this. The objectives this links to are number 1, which is the write a menu and output a menu to the user, and objective number 6 as well, which is to validate the user input. So let's start by running the program. As you can see, we have got a visual menu, so this is a pass on this section of the testing. Now if we were to enter some data types, so let's start with the erroneous. If we start by typing out the number 1, you can see that the user is prompted to make another input. If we were to type in the number 3, so this is boundary, because there's a blank space in the menu options there, you can see that again the user is prompted to make another input, which is what was expected. Now if we try some normal data, so trying for example the number 2, we can see that the rules are being displayed, and again we have the menu option that can either then take us to quit or continue to play the game. So overall this section is a pass and test 1 has been successful. So test 2 is to validate the user input. We have already validated the user input for the menu. However, this uses a subroutine for the main play game where most of the code is in order to play this game. So for this test we are going to input some normal data, boundary data and erroneous data. The objectives this links to is number 5, which is to enable the user to make an input, and then number 6, which is to validate it. So if we go to play game, here you can see that we've been given the card. Normal data would be to include weight. So hopefully when I press enter, this will continue and show the computer's card and then move on to the next stage. So now we are going to try some boundary data, which could include a spelling mistake. So let's try wingspan, but type it in wrong, so we've put windspan. Now if this is correct, this should come up with a syntax error and prompt the user to make another input, which it does. So this is also a pass. So let's try entering weight again, and as you can see that's gone through correctly. Now let's try adding some erroneous data. So for example, if we type in the number 4 for the gun section, now the expected outcome on this is that another syntax error should arise, which it does. So all 3 of these sections have passed this test, and now we can move on to test 3. So test 3 was kind of shown in test 2 as well. So this is to test the show card subroutine. So this subroutine can be shown, where is it? Here. So this is where it outputs the card to the user in a nice aesthetic way. So the card name is red, for example, the statistics box is white, and the description is in blue. This was to make it easier on the user's eye for when they are playing the game. So I just wanted to run a quick test like I did when I was building the program, that this is right. So if we go into the play game, you can clearly see here that the card is presented in the user-friendly way. The instruction is given here at the bottom where it's saying that the statistic you wish to play needs to be entered. So overall, this section is a pass, even though it was kind of considered for in test 2, but a separate test was needed during the actual development of the program, so that's why it is incorporated here. So test 4 and 5 were completed at the same time because they were both very similar and could be completed at the same time. So test 4 is to display the computer's card, and test 5 is to output the scores of both the user and the computer at the end of each round. So again, it's very similar to the instance with test 3, where this test is kind of touched on in the second test. So here, this is testing that the computer provides an output of its card that it had, and it will also output the score. So this links to some of the objectives in my success criteria also. So let's say, for example, we enter the guns here. You can see that just underneath here, the computer score has been output, and so has its card. The dashed line separators were added after I had some feedback from some peers that I've worked with. They gave me some feedback to say that it would be easier to understand without there being too much text on the page. So this is actually a result from having some feedback where the computer's card has been separated from the rest of the text, just to make it a little bit easier for the user to understand. So also on this page where the computer's card has been separated, you can also see the scores. So the score for the user has been decremented by 1 because the value is less than that of the card that the computer had, and vice versa with the computer's score also. So to conclude, test 4 and test 5 were both a success. Also, to just clarify that test 5 was a user requirement, so my end user requested that the scores of both the computer and the user were displayed after each round. So that too was a success. So also by displaying the scores, it allowed me to meet objective 10 through testing. So objective 10 is to compare the two statistics from users' cards and computers' card. So this meant that in the above example, the computer had a statistic of 8, I had a statistic of 1. Because the computer's card was higher than mine, the computer's score incremented by 1, whilst mine decremented by 1. So this proved that objective 10 was successfully met, and this could be passed as well. Okay, so test 6 is to determine the winner. So the winner is declared when the player with a score of 3 meets that score first. So you might need to bear with me. I will make some entries into the game, and whoever has a score of 3 first shall win. So let's go. So here you can see that I have successfully won the game. So this is a pass on this section. I am now going to test if the computer can win the game. So this is not an expected outcome because you can see here that the computer score has reached 3. So this will need re-evaluating. So because test 6 was a failure, I have had to go and attempt another version of the game. So now I am testing to see if the computer can win the game. So I am going to enter statistics that are considered low to try and enhance the computer's score. So as you can see, a message has now appeared saying you lose, the computer score had reached 3, which is the required score to win the game. So this test can now be passed. So this concludes the testing of my digital top trumps. Thank you very much for listening.